Welcome to Daddy vs. Doctor. Here are your hosts, pediatrician Dr. Scott Cohen and comedian Sebastian Maniscalco.
Great show today. We got toy time. We got special guest. We have
hair cutting and ear pain.
There was something else we had. Wasn't it a snack? Was it? Did we do snack time?
Not on this one.
No. You know what?
Do you want to do a snack?
Fuck snacks.
No.
I'm done. I'm done. I gotta stop swearing. This guy's trying to. He probably goes home and tells his wife again with the swearing. I can't even use this in the office. So yeah, great show. By the way, at Dr. Cohen's office here in Los Angeles, you walk in, and I don't see this a lot in a lot of doctors' offices.
What is it?
Fish tank.
Oh, the fish tank. That's how Sebastian chose me. I had the best fish on the block. He's like, where can I find Nemo? It's in my office at Beverly Hills Pediatrics. Yes.
All right, looking forward to today's show. This is the intro, right? Intro, yep.
Yeah, there we go. All right, it is time for the mailbag, or like Sebastian likes to call it,
The bag. We're going to jump right into the bag.
So we got Aloha Daddy versus Doctor. My wife and I just had our second baby a few months ago. She is much more mellow than her baby brother and sleeps almost the entire day. Seriously, she is almost never not sleeping. Should we be concerned? Is there an optimal amount of sleep for babies, and how does that change as they grow up? How many naps do you recommend a day? Aloha, Miko in Honolulu. I like that we have viewers in all 50 states.
We're global.
We are.
And,
yes. So you remember this period with a newborn sleeping?
I remember the period of the newborn sleeping. I also remember it, obviously, now what's going on with sleep.
Yeah.
And I think there's a chart somewhere that I read the amount of sleep that kids are supposed to get at specific ages.
Right.
And it decreases as they get into their teen years.
Sure.
I believe.
Yep.
14 hours newborn?
Yeah, I mean, the first couple months are really all over the place because I have my 2 to 4 rule. So most babies feed every 2 to 4 hours for the first 2 to 4 months of their life. And we add in when they take bottles, they usually take about 2 to 4 ounces. Other than feeding every 2 to 4 hours, honestly, if they spend most of the time asleep, that's actually normal. And so I usually say as long as they're feeding every 2 to 4 hours and they're gaining weight, what they do in between sort of up to them. Then what typically happens is we try to get them more on a schedule and get them sleeping through the night, hopefully around 4 months. And then the goal is a minimum of 10 hours at night without hopefully being picked up or fed. And then they're typically taking about 3 naps, minimum of 1 hour each. So minimum sleep is 13 hours in that 24-hour period. And there's never a maximum as long as they're feeding and gaining weight. So then you drop to 2 naps somewhere around 6 months. So they do 2 naps from 6 months to about 18 months. And at 18 months, 1 nap. And then usually they drop a nap around 3. So that's typically the nap time. And you're right, you're hoping to get 10 hours of sleep throughout that period. And then when they're getting older, unfortunately, like the preteens, 10 hours, you're lucky to get 8 or 9 hours after that. So that's the typical stretch. But I think what this mom's describing, first of all, the hardest thing is comparing to another sibling, right? A lot of kids are feeding and then they're up and they're super alert in between, and other kids are just sleeping. But as long as they're gaining weight in those first couple months, if they're feeding well every 2 to 4 hours and they're sleeping a lot more of the time, that's normal. And to your point, as they get older, you hope the nighttime sleep increases and the daytime alertness increases. Yeah, it looks like I put you to sleep. That's right. How much sleep do you get every night? It's like a glaze, like the donuts you sent the doctors. It was like a Krispy Kreme glaze over your eyes as I was talking. I should come to your house, and when you lay in bed, I'll just talk to you, and you just go to sleep.
I'm so glad you picked up on that. As you were talking, right, I was listening, but I was also thinking, wow, I hit a wall. I hit a total wall. And if you should isolate me listening to Cohen and I don't know, play some like music over like I'm about to go to sleep.
There's a common theme with our show that I'm very passionate about the topics I talk about, but nobody else seems to care very much. It's okay.
No, I care, but I was stunned how I got hit with a ton of bricks. Right when you started talking,
it's the 4 pounds of taffy you had on episode number 29.
Okay,
it's crazy.
All right, now I got a good laugh. I got some oxygen in me. Serafina sometimes will scream for me or mommy at night. Now I go into the room to see if everything's okay.
Sure.
Or Lana will go into the room. Sometimes when she's sick, I'll lay with her. Okay. And then sometimes when it's just she's scared, I'll lay with her a little bit. Oftentimes, I'll be facing opposite of her. I'll wake up to turn around and I'll look over and she's wide awake.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering throughout the course of the night, how much actual sleep is she getting? If she goes to bed at 7, wakes up at 6:30, is there a general, even though they're in bed that long, are they sleeping that long?
I mean, most of it they are, but when you're going to sleep, often kids will be awake. They'll recount their day. You'll hear them talk to themselves. And Gesundheit. Oh my gosh. This is like, it's a whole situation going on over here. Do you want a break? Get him a coffee. So going to sleep, often they'll just be awake talking to themselves. And I actually don't mind that. I consider that downtime. That's them self-soothing. And that's almost as good as sleep. At least they're not roaming the house, watching TV on electronics. And then I think a lot of times if you're in bed with her, she's going to be up more because she's like staring at you and things like that. But I think the majority of it's probably sleep.
Okay. I sometimes often wonder.
I thought she was just staring at your back. You turn around and you're like, why are you looking at me like that?
Still sucking her thumb, by the way, and still has a diaper.
You got my wife. You're good. The diaper at night. You're good.
Okay. All right.
You're
It's
good.
coming on
So
6.
otherwise, 6 we'll talk.
Okay.
All right. There you have it.
There you have it. Thank you, Honolulu. We have a caller in the bank here.
We do. Caller.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man, we hear you. What's going on? How you doing? Thanks for joining us here in the Daddy versus Doctor show. Dr. Scott Cohen, Sebastian Maniscalco. We understand from our crack team here of producers that your son has a problem getting his hair cut.
Yeah. So he didn't have a problem before. The first few times we took him to the barber, he actually looked forward to it. He actually pointed. He said, "Daddy, I need a haircut." So he would actually take him to the barber. I think I went maybe 3 times, and then all of a sudden he just wouldn't sit in the chair. He was kicking and screaming like crazy. So I left, didn't go back. Tried cutting it at home a few times, and that didn't go over well at all. He just same reaction, just kicked and screamed like crazy. And then I went a 3rd time to the barber, and I literally had to restrain him to the seat. The barber had taken a chunk out already, so we were in it. So it felt awful. But I don't know what to do. He won't sit still for the haircut, and it's just it's brand new. He just started doing this. So
how old?
2.5. Leonardo too. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so 2.5 years old, won't get his hair cut. Liked it, now he doesn't like it. We had a big problem with our son getting his hair cut.
Yeah.
All right. Then after he looked in the mirror and saw how stunning he was, he's like, let's do this again.
And he gets haircuts every
he
week.
gets haircuts every
time I see him, it's is that a 1 and a 3 and a 5? I mean, he's got the numbers going. Yeah.
This is what we did. I don't know if you're into it. We're not big on giving iPad or iPhone. However, while he got his haircut, we put his favorite cartoon on the iPhone, and it kind of distracted him, and he got his haircut that way. Some parents are like, no, I'm not using the device as a distraction. But for us, every
short term, why not?
Short term, if it quells his fears, did it work?
No, tried the same thing. Yeah, we put on Toy Story while I tried to cut it at home. They have actually iPads at the barber. Still no go. It's funny though. As soon as everything was done, the haircut was over, I said, "Okay, buddy, it's done." And he just looked up and said, "Thank you." and walked out. So it's like a temporary fear. As soon as everything's done, he's fine. And if I say we're going to get a haircut, he doesn't really freak out until we get there. As soon as we get there, he has this reaction. And like I said, it's new. He used to sit still perfectly fine. I don't know if it's a new fear he's developing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be. Is it one of those kid-friendly barbers, like where he's sitting on something cool or they're doing fun things?
Sort of, yeah. Like they have the iPad there for them. They interact with the kid quite a bit. But the kid's running around with his botched haircut. And I'm trying to resolve the issue.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think distraction tools, like you said. Yeah. Distraction tools. And then sometimes going with a buddy. I don't know if he has a friend that he likes that you could go at the same time. Because sometimes seeing somebody else's own age do it, like that he knows, is helpful. And then sometimes, I mean, like sitting on your lap where you're like sort of hugging him and just getting through the experience in a gentle way, but him realizing at the end that actually it's okay. Because it could be a real fear and anxiety that he doesn't like. But the fact after that he's just like, oh, okay. And he doesn't freak out when you're going. It's probably more of a temporary behavioral thing. And I think those are sort of the techniques.
So yeah, I also got my hair cut from the same barber that my son got it from. So I sat down, got my hair cut first. He saw that Daddy did it, and then he had no problem doing it. So we were fortunate, I think, to be lucky in the sense that that wasn't a huge speed bump. But I know a lot of people who have that problem, that the kid getting their haircut. Does he have long hair? Is it short like yours?
No, not as short as mine. He has beautiful hair. I'm losing it, so he's lucky to still have some. But he's still, it's like mid-length, not crazy long.
Cool.
I tried cutting it with the clippers at home, like I said, just because it was getting unruly. I thought maybe doing it at home would be easier, but I'll try that. Maybe going to the same place. I think that's a good idea. I think that might work. Maybe just seeing Daddy do it, try to copy it.
Or isolate. I don't know if there's a specific thing that upsets him. If it's the noise of the clipper or the actual cutting of the hair. Some people feel, it's, they think it's painful. It's obviously not, or feeling a loss with the hair. But if you pinpoint it, like when you go to the dentist, sometimes like you get ingrained that just hearing the drill is scary.
Yeah. So
I don't know if there's something there that he's reacting to, but if not, like doing it together would be a good idea. Yeah.
From Canada?
No, yeah. Like outside of Toronto a little bit.
Yeah, I hear it. You can always tell these Canadians, they got this accent.
Hey.
It just pops.
Hey,
Did you hear it at all?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Hey, I don't think it was A.
Was it A?
It's about. It's like about.
About.
Say about. Say about.
About.
Yeah, there's like a twang there. Any other questions for the doctor?
My initial question was about kind of the differences my wife and I have on parenting. I think I'm a bit more like, old school Italian. I have a bit more common sense, right? Like it's kind of the way I like to, parent. If it does, you kind of just use your common sense. Meanwhile, I think he's seen more healthcare professionals than I have in my entire life. He's gone to an he has orthotics on his feet. He's got the speech therapy, hearing test. Goes to a naturopath every 2 weeks. My wife gives him all these vitamins. I just thought it was funny the distinction between the two styles. I think there's a time for both though. That's what we try to blend, right? And is there a time for common sense and a time to intervene? I guess.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Your way, the Italian way, is the only way. And
because you use the word common sense, he liked that. He's going to go home tonight and go, I'm this way because it's common sense.
No, it is a lot of the parenting that comes from immigrant backgrounds, whether you be Greek, Spanish, Italian. A lot of that is just common sense, no frills upbringing. You don't got to introduce all the, what the hell is it? Would you say a neuropath? What the hell?
Naturopath.
No,
what's that?
Naturopath. Like, he had an ear infection. She wanted us to roast garlic and olive oil and put it into his ear.
Find alternative treatments for.
What are we making? A salad?
Yeah. So, yeah. I think, you can always have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? And somebody will always tell you what to do, and it could be different than everybody else. It's finding somebody who you trust. Focusing on there. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, I guess there's like the preventative versus kind of let it be, and I think that's where we kind of clash a little bit. Like where it'll pick itself out, right? Like things tend to, but early intervention, I think I guess it's a question for Dr. Scott. Like at what point is that? Are there certain things you would say, yes, just try everything, or are there other things that are maybe you can let slip a little bit
to
more?
your point, especially with a husband and wife who have different viewpoints, one may be more naturopathic, one may be more medical, or let's go down that path. I think there's a place for both, and it really just depends when it becomes a true medical issue for the child. And here's a good example, like ear infections. It used to be you came in with an ear infection, you left with antibiotics. And then we learned that 80% of ear infections are actually viral. And if you give them a day or two, they often resolve on their own. They don't all need antibiotics. So how do you judge? You come into me and the child has a cold and I see an ear infection, but they're not really complaining. They look good. I'll probably give you a prescription for antibiotics and say, hold it for a day or two and see if they start complaining of ear pain or they develop fever. It went the wrong direction, start it. As opposed to it may heal on its own. And doing other types of remedies, garlic or drops, is it going to do anything? I don't know. Does it hurt? Probably not. But when you get to the point where it could be something dangerous, like the child has pneumonia and they're having trouble breathing, and I know if you don't take the antibiotics, you wait and try something else first, it could be dangerous to the child. That's really when you want to take, I feel, the medical route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually have the same issue. He's had 6 ear infections in a year. He was on 2 sets of antibiotics within 4 weeks, and I had that. Wait a little bit. Wait a few more days and see if it works itself out. We ended up having to give him the antibiotics. It started to flare up, and that was the question we had. I said, can he just fight it off on his own, or can it actually? Do you need 2 rounds of antibiotics in a 2.5-year-old in 6 weeks or 5 weeks? That seems like a lot.
Yeah, but it's not as uncommon as you think, especially we forget, the last 2 years were a little bit of aberration with COVID, that we didn't see kids as sick as much with the normal viruses that we see. And you have to remember that most kids get 10 to 12 illnesses in the first 2 years of their life. And most of those illnesses happen between September and March. So it seems like they're nonstop sick. And when kids get ear infections, often they'll get recurrent ear infections when they get sick back to back to back, especially in the wintertime. So unfortunately, it's not as unusual if they truly had an ear infection that needed antibiotics and then they got another one. Actually, sometimes you need a stronger antibiotic to knock it out, and waiting doesn't work. That's the hard part.
Listen, if Serafina has an earache and I call you, say her ear hurts, and you tell me cut some cilantro and a peach,
I wouldn't do that. Right? I wouldn't give you that option. I would say you can give it a day if I don't think it's a severe infection, or like what happened just recently last month. She had ear pain, she had new fever, she had a cold, ear infection. She started antibiotics. She was better the next day.
We weren't chopping broccoli. That was kind of making light of the situation.
I got it.
He went
I was okay.
No, he went right into his medical head. No, what's going to happen? Okay, take it. Thank you for calling into the show.
You.
I hope you learned something. Have fun up there in Canada. Stay warm.
Yeah.
And we appreciate your time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Listen, it's not that I'm opposed to the natural way.
No, I don't do it either. Okay? It's not something I know about.
I'm just, I don't want to get comments. Oh, you're a paid pawn
to the medical establishment.
Okay?
Exactly.
Not making
it's
any.
Just look. We were I was trained in medicine.
Yeah.
I know that medicine. I don't know the homeopathic remedies as well.
Yeah.
In general, if I know they're not going to do harm and somebody wants to try it and the kid's going to be okay, there's no harm in doing that. But if I know that something will get better with medicine, why not use medicine?
Absolutely. I grew up with a homeopathic route. I had a fever. They put sliced potatoes on my head to reduce the fever. So it's not like I'm against it. But anyway.
That's why you always smell like French fries.
Okay, we got a segment here. This is our 30th episode, which is a milestone.
Yeah.
And Toy Time has been a part of it for a short time. We want to bring in a toy here.
Toy Time.
Clean Sweep
Learning Caddy.
Learning Caddy.
Oh, look at this.
What's your take on sight here?
All right, so it's got, what you would typically clean the house with. You got a mop, you got a spray can, you got a broom, and a pail. What else?
Now, the packaging, I see some of it was cut. I think some of it was cut.
So this is a Leapfrog item, and what Leapfrog makes... What happened?
The fact that this wasn't cut prior to us getting it.
You can't take them out. Are we returning this item?
No, we got
you have to do it? Oh, got it. I didn't know if it was because we don't have a budget and we need to play with the item and return it all in the same day. We have to finish this podcast by 6 because Target is closing by that. Beautiful. So Leapfrog usually makes really good products that are good educational products for kids. So they can play with it and learn something as well for all age groups. And this is for ages... this says mop, hop, and spin 3 and up. So what's interesting about this, and you probably know this, Sebastian, starting around, 2 to 3, kids love playing with things they see around the house. So daily activities, the broom, the mop, the pots and pans, the Tupperware, the toy kitchens, and this fits right in there. So I can imagine this would be a great thing they see you do because you're probably around the house mopping and sweeping all day long.
This is ridiculous, man. The way they put this stuff in here.
This is nice. Look at this. Like this.
Give me a scissors that you use to cut cardboard paper. This you need. You need like a what do you call a buzz saw.
You need a. What is this?
What is that? Was that switchblade? No. Hold on. Oh yeah, no, this is the Ginsu.
Oh God, no, please.
This is what we need. This is.
Hold on, you gotta.
We've talked about this before. I think Patrick was mugged 10 years ago.
Nobody needs a buck knife that size.
So you know what? This. Yeah, man. I never thought I'd be sweating on a podcast.
Just here, because you got to do it from behind.
Oh, see? Look at this. This is listen. Take a look at this. I don't know if you could zoom in on this. This is equivalent of what they use to handcuff criminals in a takedown. Zip ties.
Zip ties.
Right? You know how hard it is to get through a zip tie? It's like a handcuff. Okay.
You haven't done one of these where you knew it was in the back like that?
I might have. I just got a little flustered. And there we go.
There it is. And one more. Oh, no, you got it.
Pipe.
All right. Oh, no, that's the. This is the. So very intuitive. I can put it together without any instructions. I like that.
Oh,
what else you got?
Look at this. What's that?
I thought I could, but I can't.
How do you get that out? Huh? Look at
I think
look at this.
There it is. All right. What else you got?
Look at this. This is bolted in.
No.
Bolted in.
Here. They gave you a little sweat cloth. So when you're finished, you can.
Oh, that's it. Almost took an eye out, bro. If someone can tell us why it is so difficult to get into these things,
we need a.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, we need
it's not that easy, man. It's so difficult to break open a toy nowadays. The amount of
that has to just stay.
The amount of debris on the table. Oh yeah,
but what's great about the toy is that when you're done, you can use it to clean up the packaging. I mean, that is crazy.
That is nuts.
It's just unnecessary. Who's stealing these and buying them on the black market?
I don't know, but
this is crazy.
The toy is getting a 0 out of 5.
No, you can't do that. Just
based
because
on what it took to open.
No, it's a great toy.
Okay, so Caruso and Serafina have toys similar to this at the house, and they do. They walk around and they sweep and they mop. And they spray. So definitely a good idea, I think, to get the kids involved.
And clean the mop.
I don't think it's
kids
as
would like
exciting as you're making it.
I think a 3-year-old would like this.
Yes.
Because they could mimic the cleaning in the house.
Okay.
Or if they're coming home to home plate, dust it off.
I like the gift. I think it's a nice toy. I think it's very beneficial for the kids to learn with their own equipment how to clean.
Yes,
Right?
it's a good lesson. Teach chores early on. What chores do you give your kids?
My kids make their bed in the morning.
Do they?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Every morning.
Hospital corners, like
Not
military.
hospital, but it's not like tight like housekeeping at a 5-star establishment, but it's decent enough where they could get in a fresh bed.
I want to talk to you, but can we remove like the gang paraphernalia from the table?
Oh yeah, can we get the switchblade and the scissors out of here as we talk about chores?
No. So wait, what? That's a good topic because what age did you start them doing some chores?
I started Serafina making her bed at almost 4. So she's been doing it for about a year and a half. She gets an allowance.
Okay.
Caruso makes his bed. He's just started doing that. He's almost 4.
Okay.
They wash the dishes, not all the time, but there is a washing the dishes component in the house cleaning. They clean their bathroom. They clean the bathtub, not scrubbing it, but all the toys they take out. So we're doing little
That's a
tasks.
lot. You hire them out?
No, I mean, I just thought for myself, again, you almost have to create this sense of like you need to do stuff for yourself when growing up in an environment where things are done for you.
Yeah.
It's very important. I had chores growing up, and I got I had a vacuum on Saturday. I cut the lawn. I cut the trees. I washed the cars growing up. And not that I got an allowance, but it was nothing like big. I mean, we got $5 a week or $20 a week or whatever. But I was on staff at the house, and I believe that kids should learn these things young because now it's embedded in her. She gets up, she makes her bed. I don't even ask.
No argument. Nothing.
No, nothing.
That is great. She should teach my kids. I'm gonna have her come over and do a TED talk to my teenage girls.
No, I think chores are important.
It's excellent. But so you gave this really how many lollipops?
I give it a 4 and I give it a 0 to get into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say a 4, but the getting into it's crazy. I would give up. I'd rather give him one of my regular brooms and Tupperware.
Yeah.
That's a great jacket. That's like a Sebastian outfit.
Oh, bro, this is great. I'm loving the outfit. Is this what we're wearing to the premiere?
That's what's going on today. Yes, it's the premiere fit.
That's nice. Congratulations.
Appreciate the game. It's a Zara. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. That's a nice jacket you got there yourself.
Yeah, I know that you're a stylish guy, so I had to whip out my zebra look.
I feel like I'm in the savannah. This is amazing.
Well, listen, man, thanks for joining us on Daddy vs. Doctor today. We know you got 2 daughters, a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old, right?
That's a gap.
Yeah, man. It is. We waited 7 years, and by waited I mean, oops, we're having another kid. That's how that went. Got a little bored during the pandemic and made things interesting.
Well, that's good. So you got 2 daughters, and you had some questions. I want to start with some questions in regards to having our doctor here. Do you have any questions in pediatrics or behavior or what have you? I know some of it was social media.
I do have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because I was listening to you guys. I know you covered social media in a previous episode, so I wanted to give you something fresh. And this one's right off the cuff. And let me know what you think. If not, we can double back to social media stuff because it's an endless conversation. Yeah. But so my daughter is 9, and she just started school this year, and we were worried that she wouldn't make any friends. She was just kind of chilling by herself, but like, oh no, she's got like pandemic brain, like she's never gonna make any friends. She came home one day. She's like, I have made this great friend. Let's call her Stina, right? And now every time we have heard about Stina, it's like, this is a bad person. Like, this is an unsavory character. It's so, like, I've thought about her 6 times since we started this interview because I'm just like the things that she's manipulative, she backstabs, she's like belittling. She's talking about stuff that like she shouldn't be. You're right. Like you're just like, God, no, this is the friend that you came back. And so, I'm biting my tongue because I know you're not supposed to be like, you can't see that kid anymore. It just pushes them further in that direction. But like, first of all, psychologically, what is she going through? How do I protect her in that way? Because I don't want to like say something stupid and then she comes out with a complex. And then like, what am I allowed to say in your opinion, or how would you guys handle it?
Oh, you got this. Well, I have my thoughts, but you had this exact scenario.
Yeah, and we've navigated kind of away from that particular individual. But it was it was at a younger age. My kid is 5. When you get up into 9, right?
No, she's saying his 2-year-old.
No, 2-year-old.
No, it's 9-year-old.
Oh, the 9-year-old. I was going to say, okay.
Yeah.
Friends. Okay,
No.
9-year-olds.
Yeah.
So when you're 9, right, especially coming out of the pandemic where maybe friendships weren't easily made, now she finally has someone that she's kind of connecting with. Now that person in the eyes of the parents might not be a suitable friend. Do you discourage the hanging out, or do you let the daughter just kind of find out for her own that this friend is not?
No, I mean, it's happened to us, and we do sort of a combination because I think as a parent, immediately, you're like, I don't know about that one. That's not going to work out. When are we going to find that out? But you're right as a parent, and this goes whether it's friends or even relationships down the road. When you say, then they're going to like dive deeper. So, I mean, a couple things. One is, we've steered away without saying it, right? Like trying to do play dates and other things with other people that she likes. So maybe she grabs stronger bonds with those people. And then when that person's around, if things come up that don't necessarily jive with the way you parent or the way you would want your child to behave, we bring that up. So maybe, in her house, she's allowed to eat cookies up on the sofa and leave wrappers everywhere. But in our house, we don't do that. And actually, when you have friends over, since it's your house, we expect you either to tell your friends they have to clean up after themselves, I'm giving an example, or tell them they have to, because those are the rules in our house. And then what's amazing is the kids are usually really good judges of character, especially, they're like their parents and they figure it out pretty quickly. And I feel like in every situation, and it could take weeks, it could take months, but our kids come back to us and all of a sudden we're like, oh, where's so-and-so? Like, yeah, we don't really hang out anymore. How come? Yeah, she was doing these things and it didn't make me feel comfortable, or, I didn't appreciate how she talked to my other friend. And we're like, that's really great. And then it becomes another secondary lesson where we can be like, we really appreciate it. And that's the best thing when they figure it out, because you can say, I really love how you were able to see that and you chose this direction. And it's more gratifying for them than you telling them that. Right? I think the only option, option, right? If it's dangerous, then that's a whole different situation, right? Like we're hanging out and we're doing drugs. Yeah, that we're knocking that out. That's not allowed. But if it's things that you can help them navigate and they figure it out on themselves, I think it's really rewarding, and it helps them with relationships down the line because they figure out what works for them and not.
All right. Do you ever think that people are having conversations about our kids? Saying,
they're about us.
Saying, don't hang out with those kids. They're no good. Do you ever think it's happening in other households and people are saying,
not my kids? No, but what about the opposite? Have you met 100%. Your kids' friends' parents, and you're like,
yes,
yeah, the kid's fine, but the parents, I ain't hanging out with the parents.
Just like, I mean, here's the worst part is like, when there's nothing particularly wrong with them, I just don't like them. like I had one guy come up, he's just like, man, we got to play some D&D together. We can't wait till we hang out. I'm just like, we're going to pass on this. We're just going to we'll get the kids together. we'll wave and then we'll go our separate ways. Please, I can't. Small doses with that.
We'll have a drop off, and the parents will make small talk, and then they'll leave. Oh, we should get drinks or whatever, and they'll walk out, and like we have like it's like, yeah, we're not getting drinks. Let's just do play dates. And
I don't want to skip over the Dungeons and Dragons reference. Did that really happen?
It did. It did. See, like, do you play Dungeons and Dragons? First of all, I don't know if you guys.
no,
Wait. Do you?
Listen. I don't know how well we know each other right now, okay? But
wait, you own an 8-sided die?
in no uncertain terms, my wife has put a ban on Dungeons and Dragons in our home. Oh. It's just because she has the good taste to not have grown men.
You're an adult man, right? No,
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
So wait a minute. Take me through this. Dungeons and Dragons growing up was a game that I could not. It looked cool. I couldn't grasp it in my head. It was too way beyond my years. Is this something that you started as a kid and grew into as an adult, or did you pick this up last year?
COVID.
It was a coping mechanism.
It was COVID. They had a baby and Dungeons and Dragons.
That's right. I had two things coming at the same time. No, I was a little kid and I watched my older siblings play it. Mm-hmm. And it always looked so cool. And I was just like, get out of here. You're going to ruin the campaign. Like, whatever. Get out of here. But it always seemed really interesting. And so, I did other nerd stuff. I got into comic books. I got into video games. And it was always this thing, I was like, maybe I should dip my toes in D&D. And I met my wife, and her brother plays it. And like all of her brother's friends play it. And they're like, you should come and play some D&D with us. And I was like, baby, I'm in. Like, your brother's invited me to play D&D. And she's like, that's great. No. Because it takes over the house. There's a bunch of dudes screaming about, there's a swamp full of fire. I can't believe you stepped into it. It's just like all of this drama for something that is completely made up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
it's funny because we were just talking about after the age of 12, imaginary worlds being a little... No, I'm just kidding.
So
I think it's a good escape.
It is.
I've got plenty of those.
Okay, so you're playing D&D. Guy asks you, he finds out you play D&D, or is the D&D community really small where everybody kind of knows one another?
I think it's my marketing as a person. You just see this and they go like, that guy probably does some childish shit. And for the most part, they're right. They just happened to pick the one area that I'm not allowed to step into that. So it's one of the two things that are outlawed in the home is D&D. And and I am not allowed to do stand-up. That's the other thing. That's the other one.
Why?
Listen, I don't want to say they're the same thing, but she's like, I think she knows, like, because I'm an actor and a comedian, if I step into stand-up, I'm going to go hard. Like, I'm going to go, like, I got to perfect it. And she's like, if you want to do that, that's fine. But damn, that life, that'll take you out of the home and it'll put you in a motel in Albuquerque. Like, that's sometimes as good as it gets. And she's just like, if you want to do it, that's fine. But like, peace,
Okay.
Which I kind of get. I don't know.
I agree with the D&D being outlawed. The stand-up is a whole different story. I think that you could definitely tackle that, and you could maybe take the D&D on the road to Albuquerque. Start doing traveling D&D.
You're trying to get me divorced. Is basically what you're looking at. I see you, Sebastian. I see you, sir.
All right, I want to switch gears because there's another question you had, and we haven't touched on this at all. And this is a question I had for you. So your 2-year-old daughter, there's been a death. Your pet died.
Yeah.
Right. She has a hard time processing the death of the dog.
Yeah.
When do you introduce or when could they grasp death?
Yeah. I mean, it is a bit abstract at that age. What did you say to her when the dog died, or what words did you use? Or
So we've kind of run the gamut with it. She's a really verbal 2-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we tried to count how many words she knows, and we just at some point had to stop counting. She knows what boba is, which I barely got that like last year. She's just a really smart kid, so we could tell her things like, first of all, we said, Opie the name of our dog was Opie. We're like, Opie is gone, and he's not coming back because he died. And she's like, got it. What does any of that mean? And so we're like, Opie's body stopped working. And so he couldn't be with us anymore. And so he passed away. She's like, great. And so the first time we're in the car, we're just chilling. And then she's just like, Opie died. And we're like, yeah, he did. He did. We see her like trying to tackle with it. And the second time it's just like, Opie died. And we're like, yes, good. I'm glad you're talking about it. By like the 20th time, we're just like, yes, we know you have brought this up. What? But she still doesn't seem to understand.
Right, because she probably doesn't really understand what that word means. When we talk about adult topics with kids, a lot of times we transfer our own feelings of what we think they know. Like when we talk about sex, like we have in our head what sex means and what's happening in the visualization. But when they're talking about it, they don't have any of that. So it's that disconnect. Same thing with death. Like we understand everything, but the word has gravity that's different for us and them. And a 2-year-old, it's just very, very difficult. So she's bringing it up over and over because she is trying to process it. And I like being honest, and I like using real words. We try not to equate death, especially in kids, to other things that can scare them, like they were sick and then died, because when then you use the word for yourself, oh, daddy stayed home from work today because he's sick, then they think, oh, daddy's gonna die. So trying to stay away from that, which you did, which is great. Opening lines of communication, like saying, oh, but you can talk to we can look at pictures, we can write letters, you want to talk to them, we can do all these things. And also, this is where faith can really come in. If you believe in something like a heaven or a God, and you can use those words that they understand, oh, he went to heaven. It's often nice on a child to have that place that is a feel-good place that they went, because that's going to come up later with other relatives, depending on what you believe. So a lot of different things, but it's very normal when kids almost perseverate on that as they're trying to process it, and you're just being supportive of that. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, them being 9 and 2 and having that gap, that 7-year gap, because I had a big gap between my sister and I, not as big, but 5 years. Do you find them hanging out? Are they closer than you expected? Are they more distant? How do you manage such a large gap in between siblings?
Yeah, it's been really fun, actually, just because, like, for instance, we had the Santa talk for parents who have been through that, and we were honest with the 9-year-old this year. She was asking about it. She was just sort of like, I don't know, and we didn't want to play that game of like, oh yeah, we're like, they know that it doesn't exist, and then like you also know, but the presents are still there. We don't want to do that. So she asked, and so what we instilled in her was being a part of the magic. And that she's like, well, why do you tell kids this? And it's like, it's important for kids to believe in something magical when they're very little, because that keeps the world a magical place to live in. I like that. And it can still be fun and be interesting. And so she's just like so into it now, where she's like, oh, I want to take a bite out of the cookie, and I want to make sure the boots are here and the snow and everything. The 2-year-old comes in and she's just like, great, I guess. But like, the 9-year-old is just like, she's so into making that magic happen. And I feel like that translates across a lot of these things. This is kind of the best part of that split, is that, the older ones can have like a second life in childhood, because they're so far apart. It's kind of fun.
So you told her dragons are real, but Santa Claus is fake. This is basically what you said.
Tooth Fairy technically lives in Washington, D.C. and flies over to grab the tooth. But dragons, no, that's ridiculous. How does it feel being like in that split as between like you and your sibling? You said it was like 5 years.
Yeah, it was a 5-year
Instead of
split.
7.
I'm older, and we're best friends. I mean, we're literally best friends. I stood up in my sister's wedding, and so I was like her maid of honor. That's how close we
Wow.
were. So growing up, yeah, there was a disconnect just because I was going to nightclubs and she was going to, the the high school prom or whatever the hell it was. But as we grew older, I think we became closer. And we've often talked about this. My wife and I, we have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and we're tossing around maybe a third. But my wife's like, it's going to be a 6-year gap or whatever the gap is. But I'm like, you know what? Like to your point, there's other positives that might come out of having a far older sibling than being so close. So
I really like what you said. I mean, the older one almost reimagining childhood for the little one is really cool, because what I've often heard when there's a larger age gap is that those kids really are never together because they're always, the way schools are, one's always at a different school. So you're plopping that way. So you don't have the same sort of social situation or friends. And they almost grow up separately, and you found a way where it doesn't happen that way, which is really nice, both of you. So that's good to hear.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you
We're
being
crushing it, Sebastian.
what's that? I'm crushing
We're
it.
crushing this parenting game. Yeah, it's going well for us.
I mean, he was a maid of honor. So,
Right?
yeah,
So,
I mean,
you're doing all right.
we all
Good
have
weather
aspirations.
status. Yes.
And lastly, I know you're busy. You got to go to this premiere. What, at this point in your parenthood life, what struggles or obstacles are you coming across that you didn't maybe foresee? Or on the flip side, what are you most proud of up to this point as a dad?
Yeah, I think that the answer is kind of one and the same for me. Is that before we became parents, we were going to be teachers, and so we study child development, and we learn all these interesting things about how kids are not their behavior sometimes, how just their sleep and cognition, how they develop mentally, all this stuff. Right? We kind of acquired all this information, so we came into parenthood just stacked, like we were ready to go. And the great part of that is that we knew that we had to stay flexible, right? Which is what I'm proud of. Anytime we have a problem, we know we can hit the research, we know who to call, we know who to ask and get information. I think the struggle with that is that we have these really great kids that we've raised, and sometimes other parents look at our kids and go like, oh, it's easy, they got easy kids. And it's like, no, we just work so hard at like keeping them in the lane and like keeping them balanced and making sure their brains are good. And then the other part is like, sometimes there's so much information out there, guys. It's like you can find any answer you want with research papers and proof. If you're like, I would really like to, grow my kid as a plant and just stick her in the earth, you could find a book that's been written about that saying it's okay, right? That part can be really daunting. Where you get your information, I think, is probably the biggest struggle. Like, what do we rely on? There's so much there right now. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going down. Yeah.
It's funny, a lot of people rely on, books or expertise when it comes to parenting, right? Now, I don't know how you grew up. My parents didn't consult nobody.
Nope.
Right?
No.
It was like, this is how we're doing it.
Yeah.
And you either like it or you don't. Now, there's been a shift, right? Where you like, oh, what is the article? I'm getting articles left and right from Lana about how you discipline kids, how you talk to kids. And I feel sometimes that the innate ability that parents rely on, almost a gut feeling, like, no, this is what my body's telling me to do. I don't want to hear about a paper that somebody did at Stanford University on how to do child rearing. You being in the pediatrics field, do you Is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, I mean,
what is it?
It's so hard. It's to your point. There's just so much information, and it's so hard to weed through what is correct, what is crazy, and what is everything in between, because there are a lot of right ways to do it. And I think what you're saying and what we're seeing is why parents often feel that they're not doing a good job and that they're failing a lot is because there is something out there that's telling them they have to do it a different way. And I think that's a problem. We put everybody in a box and say, you need to do it this way. And if you don't, you're not doing it correctly. When there's a lot of right ways, and there is sort of a gut feeling of right from wrong. And it doesn't always have to be what the book or the study says. And that's how we should talk to parents. It's like, medically, I can tell you what I recommend because I know safety wise, that's the right thing. And maybe development, there's probably another 20 things that you could do similar. Now, how do we fit it to your house? Because that's the right way of doing it. Because it can't just be the same for everybody. Because also kids aren't the same and parents aren't the same. And thankfully the kids end up okay. But I think that's what it becomes so anxiety producing. All the information out there, the Google University that we talk, and you can just put in anything and get so many esoteric answers. It causes you to feel stressed like, oh, am I not doing it right? Because the book says something different. Google says something different. And my neighbor told me I should do it differently. But maybe they're wrong. Maybe I'm right. You know?
You know, I think too is like, I have a feeling that our generation of kids are going to be the best. Because like we had our parents that were basically just like rolling the dice. I got sevens. We're kicking them out of the house. Like they were just sort of whatever. And then you have, us and our generation, we're pouring through every book because we're not doing what our parents did. We're pouring through everything. We're trying to do the best, make decisions based on research. And then we're going to have kids who go like, I don't want to read a book. They just innately know these practices, that we've had to like really pour through to get to. And they're just going to be like, yeah, no, I got this. Mm-hmm. They're going to be like balanced people, which is totally wild when I think about our kids' parenting. But like, I don't know. I have a feeling just with every generation going like, I don't want to do what my dad did, that they're going to end up being the best. So look forward to grandkids, I guess. Yeah. Is the final message with that.
Interesting way to look at things. Listen, man, have a wonderful time at the premiere. We appreciate you taking a small amount of your time talking with us, shedding some light on parenthood, death, and
congratulations.
Congratulations, bro.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. This is a great talk. Like, I really enjoyed myself. You guys are really fun to talk to.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
No, we appreciate it.
Likewise. Take care, brother.
All right, gentlemen.
D&D all the way. D&D all the way.
So what other podcast will you hear? I dip my toes into Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm sorry. That's got to be a documentary.
Dungeons and Dragons?
Adult
D&D?
Yeah.
Did your friends ever play that? All I remember is, and I never understood it, my buddy being like, my Sky Flasher is level 17 and has these weapons and beat this person. I'm like, but who decides all that? No, we roll the dice. I didn't understand it.
Yeah, no, it's
but it's a big thing.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I'll never be a part of it. Nor will my son, if I have anything to do with it. He's talking about like our kids are going to be the best kids.
Yeah.
I didn't have any time to get into that. I disagree.
Yeah.
I often look at my father the way he raised me, or my mother the way she raised me, and I take kind of what they've done to a degree and go, okay, I
want to modify this.
Yeah, modify a little bit. It's not like I throw it and trash it out the window.
Sure.
Right? I mean, I think he was more like, they roll the dice and if they got sevens, kick it out. I don't necessarily agree with that in my own household. I think we like to kind of take bits and pieces and 100%. Apply it, right?
And I would hope that our kids, that generation, does well because they see that their parents were hard workers.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. So. Well, on the show today, we opened up a toy that took about 13 minutes to get into.
Yeah, that was the whole show.
But once we got in there, it was definitely something that we enjoyed, being the cleaning thing. We had an amazing guest, Josh Banday. All right.
I liked him.
On his way to a premiere. He stars in the Amazon series Upload. He's also starring as Dennis in the new ABC comedy Not Dead Yet. opposite of Gina Rodriguez. We had him on the show. 2 kids, 9 and 2, also plays Dungeons
And
Dragons.
Exactly.
Great guy. And had the caller that called in about the earache and the haircut, which hopefully we gave him some useful information. Once again, guys, share the show with 5 of your friends. Very informative, very entertaining. This is our 30th episode, and we are growing like a weed.
The opinions expressed in this program are not intended as professional medical advice, as a diagnosis, as a treatment protocol, or as a substitute for professional medical advice from your physician. Please consider your own medical history and consult with your own physician for your specific healthcare and/or medical needs and about your concerns for yourself and your family.